so I don't look at a blank screen.
Yeah,
it's nice
cool.
to sometimes see faces, isn't it?
This is mine. Right there. Let me just share this one. Then I'll put this up on screen. Bear with.
I'll make a start and talk to it while you're doing that, Nick, if that's okay.
Does it say I'm trying to get in again?
Right.
You mean the wrong one? Yeah. Oh.
Which email did you go through?
I will forward it to
We
you.
might just get someone to go on mute because there's a lot of noise.
Yeah. Is that you on? Can you just go mute for a bit?
Hi.
Yep.
Yeah, I will do. Sorry.
Now we're just going to go to Geraldine and Emma first, just to run through Gate Smart. So take a breath. It's all okay. And then you and Adriel can join us afterwards. No worries.
Lovely. Thank you, Nick, and thank you to you all for giving us the time to chat through some Gate Smart projects that's been kind of working on. This first came on my radar about 6 years ago, Gate Smart. I was working, had the privilege of working with Care City, which is an innovation centre which looked at it was a test bed where it looked at different gadgets, opportunities that could really enhance care. And I was very fortunate that I got to trial Gate Smart with my intermediate team. At the time, I was a nurse consultant for frailty and older people, and we were really keen to test this. So we tested it in an intermediate care setting. It was quite fascinating because there's lots of things that are linked to gait, and some things were linked to falls, whether it's kinesis, etc. And suddenly trying something different that could really give you different lens to look at things was really kind of welcomed. And so we kind of thought, what could be the art of the possible here? Initially, so it won't be on our slides, when this was built, I think it was built in the equine world. So it was used on horses because obviously horses aren't able to tell you where they've got pain, etc. And it was developed then for human use thereafter. And I think there's been a lot gained through that, which Emma will talk about shortly as well, because she's got some lived experience, which is very current, which I thought might be really helpful to kind of play that to you at the moment. So when we initially first did it in intermediate care, there was an awful lot of hesitancy, because when you look at it in terms of what it is, in terms of a gadget and how it kind of looks at things, people can initially think, oh my goodness, this is taking away my role or what I do, etc., because it kind of looks at things through different lens. And I think we had a huge breakthrough moment. So I think if we just go to the first slide and just say what it is. So you'll see here some very graphic images. So I think in terms of, it's an innovative technology. You've got some sensors. So you'll see sensors in the top right. So they're the white little pieces. They're applied to different areas of the leg, which we'll see there. Then your patient walks a certain distance, about all those attached, and they come back and pop the sensors into the computer. And voila, you end up getting the picture below. I'm really proud of myself on this bit, because initially when the first pictures were kind of created, they didn't look like this at all. And so we got them to be able to be rag rated and to be much more visual for the patients, because initially this is a tool that's really empowering patients to see what work they might need to do and what lens to see it a little bit differently as well. And we had a real breakthrough moment in terms of one patient who wasn't engaging in physio at all, and didn't want to engage in her therapy. And we managed to convince her to use the Gate Smart. And we suddenly got this picture below where you were able to rag rate all your muscles in that range. And she saw she was red. And we suddenly had a breakthrough moment, because it was, what do I need to do to get to green? And suddenly we had full engagement in her therapy. So it was a real changer. And ironically, in terms of the therapist and the MDT looking after her, the exercises that had been applied initially because of it was a hip replacement she had were focused on a particular area. But when we did the Gait Smart, suddenly there was a huge illumination of what was truly needed to be able to equip her recovery and reduce length of stays and get her back on track. I think my ambition at the time was to see if I could reverse frailty, because I was really keen to explore that, just more in terms of what people were like and what they were doing, what they came in with. And we were really pleased in terms of what people were walking with pre even what they were doing. We were able to reverse frailty at that given time by 11%. There has been 2 papers that we wrote on that following that intervention. So we did one, and we've done a published one with Gait Smart a couple of weeks ago, where we looked at the economic value of looking at this tool in practice. But I think probably what I'll do, if it's all right, Emma, is hand over to you just more in terms of what that lived experience is now, in terms of, because I'm really proud and grateful to Emma, because she should be baking cakes today for a very important event at the weekend. But she's kindly joined me. We used this together when Emma Brown was a fellow with us at the region, and we used it at the Care Hotel in Norfolk. I think is probably when we first used it. Emma is a guiding light in terms of innovation and research at Bedford and Luton system, and so has been utilising it there as well. So we'll give you the kind of current lived experience of what it's been and the journey. So it's an evolving piece of work, but quite an exciting piece of work to be part of. So I'll hand over to Emma now.
Great, thank you very much. So if we move on to the next slide, as Geraldine says, it's been quite a long journey for the innovator over many years. I think it's in excess of 10 years, definitely, to gather research and feedback from patients, etc. And this just demonstrates what Geraldine was talking about. So I think you actually looked at this, didn't you, and got feedback from the patients that you were working with. And what was really, really important to see is you can see there the data that is produced and is given to the patient in a report. So it can be emailed to them, but we're also very aware of digital exclusion. So it can be printed, and we do encourage it to be done in colour so people can really understand the RAG rating. And the feedback that has been had, and I've seen it myself as well, is that colour coding is very, very important, and it really helps to facilitate a conversation with the person about, you know, where their weakness might be, where the areas of focus should be. And what's really nice as well is it produces an overall Gait Smart score, which is a percentage, which again is really easy to understand, and it's very motivating for people to think, actually, when I go back for my reassessment, I want that score to be better. And I have seen people with very low scores, and some people that can't get a score. So you need to be able to walk, I say 10 strides, about 10 meters, turn and walk back again. But you can do that with an aid. So you can do it with a stick or a walking frame. So what they usually walk with, but they can't have any handhold assistance. So if we move on to the next slide, I've been doing some work with NICE, and for those of you that have been involved in the process, it is a very long process. It's very detailed and rightly should be. And NICE actually published guidance very recently, in the 3rd of April. So I've put a link there. So it'd be great if you could go away and have a look through that. And what they have said, that it can be used for adults at risk of falls, to support gait and mobility issues in the NHS. And as we always say, it's important that we continue to gather research and data to continue to really analyse where it can and should be used in what areas as well. So if we move on to the next slide. So I've been in a new role for just over 18 months since I left the region. So I'm in a head of innovation role, but I am actually a physiotherapist. And was very keen that we actually piloted Gait Smart within our system, because I'd seen the huge benefits in my previous role. So we work really closely with Health Innovation East, and I don't know if anyone's aware of the Health Innovation Networks. There's 15 of them across England, and they are, if you like, the innovation arm of the NHS. So we're really fortunate that they're doing a robust evaluation for us over a 12-month period. So we've got 4 pilot sites currently, and we wanted all the sites to be very different and really take some of them a really proactive approach at prevention as well. So one of them is actually at a NHS health check. So when people over the age of 40 are invited to come for a health check, at one practice they're being offered a GateSmart assessment. So that's a really sort of preventative, proactive approach that we're taking there. There's a new, what we call Keeping Well clinic or frailty clinic that's been set up in the community as well, that's overseen by a geriatrician. And again, the GateSmart's offered at that clinic. And a practice manager came up with a great idea because she really saw the value of GateSmart. So she put an advert out on their practice website, and they put posters up in the GP surgery just saying, are you a bit worried about your walking? Has it changed recently? Would you like to come and have a GateSmart assessment? And within 2 days, I think all the slots were filled. So she had about 40 slots. So that just shows you the interest that people had. And again, I just love that idea. It was really, really proactive way. A third pilot site is in a full service that's therapy led. And we've just got a fourth site that's due to go live. And I'm really, really excited about this site. So it's with a local authority, and they're going to use it in different ways. And it's like active lifestyle. So they are trained in exercise. And what's really key about GateSmart as well, that it can be done by like a healthcare assistant or rehab assistant that's had the training through GateSmart. But I would say that does have links into escalation or support from therapy if required. But I say what is really great for this, it can be, doesn't have to be carried out by a qualified therapist. So if we go on to the next slide, we are doing a 12-month, as I said, evaluation, and it's going to be really robust. And I'll go on to a slide about what we're actually collating. And again, very happy to share our results once that is complete. But we started to just have a look at some of the general feedback that we're getting. So at the top, you can see the practice manager, and that's the one who put the advert out. And she's just, so she is a nurse by background, and she is just really excited by this project and has seen that actually it's a great innovation to be using, and really sees potential for this to be used long term within her services. You can see there's some feedback from a daughter of somebody who's 94 and has said after completing the exercises she carried out most days with the help of her carers, she started to walk much quicker. So it really shows that, you know, it doesn't matter how old somebody is. It's a 94-year-old that's really started to exercise again and is seeing the benefits. So that's really great to see. And I was really touched by this. Actually, it's a husband and wife that have been using GateSmart together. So they've both had GateSmart assessments done, been given their own exercise programs because it is tailored to their needs. And they're just really enjoying it and are really beginning to see the benefits through the results that are coming through. So just to say that the GateSmart program's usually over 12 weeks. So at 4-week intervals, so they come back and get a reassessment. They'll hopefully have new exercises generated and begin to see an improvement in their score. So it does motivate, but it's not to say exercising stops at the end of that 12 weeks. Hopefully that's had that culture shift and they'll continue to exercise. So if we move on to the next slide, please. Oh. So just a little bit to touch on our evaluation plan of our 4 pilot sites. As I say, we're very fortunate to have the evaluation team at Health Innovation East supporting this. And so we're going to be analysing the difference between the GateSmart scores and the gait speeds as well. We're also capturing patient confidence and fear of falling, so through the FES1 survey at the start and the end. And we've also got a experience questionnaire that we're capturing at the end, because we think it's really important. How's it really impacted on them on a day-to-day basis as well, because that's really important to get that feedback. And also we'll be capturing staff feedback as well. So you can see it's quite a well-rounded evaluation. So that's everything from me. I don't know if we've got time for questions.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Probably got a couple of minutes if anybody's got any burning questions. If not, we can probably drop emails around, or Nat, you can come in because you're going to go next anyway.
Hi, this sounds like an amazing project. Is the plan theoretically to roll it out across the whole NHS, or is that the plan?
Well, it's a challenge with innovation, so it really is. I mean, there are it has been used across the NHS in different systems around the country. So, for example, in Cornwall, it's been used in a full service as well. I know in Surrey it's been used, and the interest is definitely growing since the NICE guidance has been published. But there isn't a blanket this will be used. So it is really dependent on providers and systems around uptake and funding of it as well. Something the company are exploring is something called the MedTech funding mandate, to see if actually it can be added to that mandate to again encourage uptake as well. But again, like many of these things, it is down to sort of local adoption and people driving it forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, thanks, Janice.
Hi, I'm Janice from Princess Alexandra Hospital. So just a quick one in terms of the cost, because I can see it in our system in Hertfordshire and West Essex, particularly West Essex. We have already a group which is the Strength and Balance. So I can see how this could enhance that service further, because we're trying to make it more holistic. So at the moment it's all just physio and doing exercises. So in terms of cost, roughly how does it work?
I'm sure I'll be told off by talking about cost, because innovators never like to talk about costs initially. But however, I will give you a ballpark, because I think it's really important to understand. So sometimes they say it is the number of tests, but I think that's quite a challenging thing to do. And the way we've done it is for the year, so you pay it comes in a small bag and you get everything included. So the tablet, the straps, the sensors, it all comes together. So I think it's we're paying around 16,000 per year per site that has got the kit. So I think that's fairly reasonable actually, in terms of the number of tests you can do and the impact you can have. But again, obviously costs do vary, and you've got VAT, all sorts of things, but it gives you an idea.
Can I link up with you, please? Because we are doing technology stuff for the local authority in the next few weeks. So I'll drop you an email. Thank you so much for this.
Fine. Thanks,
Emma, and thanks, Geraldine. I think that's really, really interesting. Geraldine, just come back in.
It was just more quickly, I can send you the articles that were written as well, just more in terms of the proof of worth as well that we've done in the last couple of years, and those nice guidance as well, because I think there's power to this conversation, because it's all about empowering patients and experiencing care, and it's about utilising resources as well, because just more in terms of skills, and it just gives you a different lens. So it is a very exciting project, and thank you, Emma, for coming to help explain it in terms of its currency. So it's nice to have seen the journey.
Brilliant,
thanks
you
both.
All. If you can send the papers to me, Geraldine, I'll circulate around the group. So fantastic, thank you for that. Okay, time is ticking on, so I'm going to hand over to Nat and Adrielle from Nottingham. Nat, I think Adrielle's going to do most of the talking, but you're going to do a quick intro. So over to you.
So I'm Natalie. I'm one of the trauma team leads at Nottingham University Hospital, so mainly based at Queen's Medical Centre. Essentially, this is a project that we started many years ago, but then because of COVID and because of various cuts and vacancies, it stopped for years, and then essentially we had some money for extra posts. So Addy is actually a band 5, and we had an extra band 6 post, but Addy's totally taken on this whole project, and he's done all the presentation and all the research. So I will hand you over to him.
Hello everybody. My name is Adriel, but Addy for short, and I'm just going to share my screen so I can get the my presentation out. There we go. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thumbs up. Good. 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 So yeah, I'm going to be going through this presentation, just breaking down what we've been doing in trauma and orthopedics in regards to our group exercise class that we call the dinner dance, because we normally either do it just before or just after lunch. So there we go. So this is the dinner dance group exercise class that we do across the trauma and orthopedic wards at NUH at Queen's Medical Centre. So within this presentation, we're gonna go over a brief introduction of what our project is and what was the reasoning behind it. We'll quickly go through what our aims and objectives are with the class, what's inspired us to start this class, what exactly do we do and what does it look like, and then we'll finish off with what the patient feedback has been so far. We've been collecting qualitative feedback from patients, so we'll briefly go through that, and then we'll conclude going through the strengths and limitations and what the future direction of the class is going to look like and what impact it could have in the future. So this is a little bit wordy. So essentially, as I hope we all know, physical activity is really important, and especially physical activity within group exercise classes has been seen to improve mood, cognitive function, and quality of life in both male and female patients. According to the NICE guidelines, NICE guidelines on trauma-specific rehab, group exercise classes is a good way of incorporating strength and exercise within TNO inpatient settings. Our exercise program consists of both upper and lower limb movements, and they're mostly, if not always, chair-based exercises. So it includes most of our inpatients are able to take part in the class because it doesn't have a lot of, it's not very complex movements, where most of the exercises are seated and chair-based. And our new and engaging dinner dance group exercise class was reintroduced back in, well, I reintroduced it back in December, but officially at the start of February is when we started consistently having at least 3 group exercise classes per week across the 3 wards. So the aims and objectives. So the aim of the class was to improve the feelings and perceptions of trauma in patients towards physical activity, and we are doing that by safely providing an interactive group exercise intervention across our 3 trauma and orthopedic wards. We're collecting qualitative patient-reported experience measures via a questionnaire, and we're using this data to assess the effectiveness of the intervention. So what inspired us? As Nat mentioned, my post and Band 6 colleagues of mine post are funded for a Day Zero project. We've incorporated Day Zero physiotherapy within the service, and because of our roles, we've been able to take on other projects as well. So this is one of the projects that I've been able to take on, and it's part of the reason why we've been able to consistently have the exercise class running. And our proposed just values of kindness, inclusivity, improvement, and team working is something that inspired us greatly. Working efficiently, having a group exercise class is a good way of increasing the service without needing additional staff, because it's 1 staff to 6 to 10 patients, for example, within the class, and you're able to provide 30 to 45 minutes worth of physio intervention to those patients just with that 1 member of staff. So working efficiently is definitely something that inspired us. The knowledge that it has been done in the past, as Nat mentioned, it's something that's been piloted here and there throughout the last couple of years. So knowing that has been done before, it's given us confidence that we could do that again. And then also, wanting to improve patient perception of care. And then lastly, trying to enrich our holistic and person-centered approach to physio. So what exactly is it that we do? The way the class runs is first thing in the morning, our ward physio will go and actually, I'm mixing 2 things together right now. The way it normally runs is, say if I'm running the class, what I would do is I'd go onto the ward and I'd fill out a participation sheet, including any post-op precautions, weight-bearing statuses, or ROM restrictions that patients have been given from their consultant. We'll make the list based on the exclusion and the inclusion criteria, including some brief past medical history, age, sex, and ethnicity. And that whole process takes about 25 to 35 minutes. And then at the time of the class, we'll transfer the patients out to an allocated bay with collaboration with the nursing staff. And then we'll carry out the class for approximately 30 minutes. That would include a warm-up, exercises, and cool-down. And then we'll transfer those patients back to their bed spaces if they wish to do so. And then we'll document, and that's where we'll also collect our feedback as well.
So one of the things to mention as well is it's also like a social interaction. So they'll have their lunch all together before or after the class, depending on timing and what's appropriate for the patients. But it's also an opportunity for them to socialise. Just thought I'd add that in.
Yeah, most definitely. I realized I had my mic on that whole time, so I hope the audio wasn't dodgy then. But this is the really wordy slide. I'm not going to go through all the inclusion and exclusion criteria, but essentially this is what our inclusion and exclusion criteria are. This is what we'll base our patient list off in the morning, just to ensure that the patients taking part are safe to do so. And this is kind of what our class looks like. It changes week to week, like Nat says. Sometimes we have the table out, and they'll have their lunch before, and then we'll move the table out of the way, we'll arrange the chairs, and then we'll do the exercises. Sometimes it's the other way around if we do it before lunch. But essentially, you know, the key points of the class is that the exercises are chair-based exercises. Patients are sat out in the bay. We do have weights that we use for some added resistance, especially with the upper limb exercises. There's a good social element to the class. The classes at the moment are physio-led or physio assistant-led, and yeah, we aim for between 4 to 10 patients per class. And patients, if they're unable to sit out into the chair for one reason or another, but they are safe to take part in the exercises based on their post-op instructions, they can also take part from their bed as well. So yeah, on to the next slide. So here's a brief example of what our exercises look like. These exercises, we get them from Physiotech, or we put them together, and this is an example of what our main body of exercises looks like. I use the same template like week to week with the patients because of the nature of trauma orthopedics. Patients are, the turnover is quite quick, so we're able to use the same template every week with the patients. So the template necessarily isn't changing, but the patients participating are changing. And then what do the patients think about the class? So these are some of the questions that we go through with the patients afterwards, just to get some sort of a feedback from them. Here are the questions we ask. They're very specific to their experience within the class. You know, did they enjoy the class? Has their mood improved since the class? What are their attitudes towards, you know, exercise? Has it become more positive because of the class? Or do they feel like they're more likely to complete their own independent exercise? You know, do they feel inspired to now go and seek out a group exercise class in the future based on their experience within the class? So this is our feedback. So far, well, we've had more responses since the time I made this PowerPoint. As here we can see there's 56 responses, but I think now we're in the 80s. We've been collecting these responses now for about 2.5 months, and here's a brief overview of some of the feedback that we've received. So you can see it's quite positive. So the questions are on a scale of 1 to 5, and patients scoring 4 to 5. You can see 87% of patients have scored that they really enjoy the class. You know, 64.3% of patients report their mood has improved. A great number of patients say that their attitudes towards physical activity has greatly improved because of the class. You can see almost 90% of the patients that take part say that they're more likely to seek out a group exercise class in the future. And again, it's had a positive impact on how patients feel towards their own exercise as well. Independent exercise, they say they're more likely to complete that themselves as well. So to conclude, some strengths and limitations of the class. A strength of the class is that the qualitative data so far supports the effectiveness of the class. You know, if we can remember, the aim of the class was to try and improve the attitudes of trauma in patients towards physical activity, and so far that's what our results have showed, that patients they feel like exercise is improving their mood. They're more likely to seek out opportunities to exercise in the future too. Secondly, we are able to consistently provide this intervention. That's a big strength with the pressures of everyday working. It's been it's been quite good that we've been able to consistently provide this class across our wards weekly. And then lastly, our intervention helps us meet the trauma orthopedic NICE guidelines. Moving on to the limitations. Consistent collaboration is sometimes a limitation. The class requires collaboration between both the therapy staff and then also the nursing staff, and that can sometimes be a little bit difficult just with everything going on in the wards. But it's mostly great. It's just sometimes that can be a limitation. Secondly, consistent, efficient use of time. As you can imagine, transferring patients in and out of bed sometimes runs over. Sometimes it's 5 minutes to take everybody out of bed with the collaboration, and then sometimes it might take 15-20 minutes to get everybody out, and then there's also a case of getting everybody back to their bed spaces as well afterwards, depending on whether they stay out for lunch or not. So sometimes that can be a limitation time wise. And then lastly, exercises lack difficulty. Most of the patient feedback is glowing, but occasionally some of the patients that take part say that the exercises are too easy for them. So that's something that we've included within our limitations, in that, you know, obviously it depends on the patient group, but sometimes the exercises, you know, they can be a little bit easy for some people and obviously more difficult for others. So it's hard to find that balance all the time. And then an overview of the feedback. A big standout figure for us is that 89.4% of patients say that they're more likely to seek out group exercise classes in the future. So as a direct result of that, we've tried to get together if as many of the group exercise class provision in the communities and put that into one resource. So here's just a quick print screen of a resource that I've put together, which just includes group exercise classes within the community that we can then signpost and give to our patients and signpost them to these exercise classes once they leave. And onto the next slide. And then our future, what's next? So firstly, we would like to increase the frequency of the classes. So initially, I'd run one class per ward once a week. So I would run 3 classes a week, one in each of our 3 wards. But over the last month and a half, we've been able to run, approximately 2 classes per ward per week, because we've started to implement assistant-led classes. So we've got physiotherapy-led classes, and then we've got physiotherapy assistant-led classes. And at the moment, I'm currently working on putting together the competency documents and sorting the plan for introducing healthcare assistant-led classes, which would be a major shift, because then that would mean that we could almost at a certain point have a class running daily on each ward throughout the week, and that could have great impacts on the amount of physiotherapy that can be delivered, and the amount of, also on patient outcomes as well. In terms of improving MDT collaboration, we're constantly liaising with the ward managers and the nursing staff, just trying to improve that collaborative effort. And then we're also presenting on, the advances within the class and the impact it's having within our orthopedic managerial meetings. And then lastly, we would like to continue to model the class based on the feedback. So we might potentially start collecting feedback from staff and family as well, just to see what can we do to make it work as effectively as possible for all stakeholders and parties involved.
And I will say we've actually had a lot of positive feedback from everyone on the ward. So when we do these classes, everyone gets quite excited and they're like, oh, look at all these patients out doing exercise, isn't that great? And the families love it, because often it is around kind of just at the start of visiting time, and the families all love it and the staff all love it, and they say it gives everyone a bit of a morale boost. And we've had consultants, our orthopedic consultants just happen to be on the ward and watching it, so it's also really helping to raise our profile and what we're doing with the orthopedic consultants as well, which is obviously very important.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that brings us to the end of the presentation. So yeah, very open for any questions so far. Yeah, I can stop sharing my screen now. Brilliant.
Thanks, Angel. That's great. I think the point you made there, Nat, about just the visibility from the family's perspective, that something is happening. Sometimes we see with restricted visiting times, families don't always see things that are happening. And they're wondering what's happening with their family member or their loved one. Seeing something like that is a very positive comforting experience, I guess, for the family as well. So that's brilliant. Any questions for Adriel or Nat before we? Sorry, Nat, do you want to go? Did you want to go? No, okay. Before we just bring in Becky and Tracie, I guess that, you know, there's contact details. So if you want to drop the guys a line, I'm sure they will. Adriel, if you don't mind sharing the slides, I'll circulate those around the group if you don't mind. That'd be great. And I can, I'm sure people can look in a bit more detail on the content there. So fabulous, love that. Thanks very much.
So one thing I did want to say was that I forgot to say at the end of that was that we're in close contact and close collaboration with the team that are opening the National Rehabilitation Centre. So they're really interested in this idea as well. So we're hoping to kind of be able to share this idea with the NRC as well. So obviously we're open to sharing anything that anyone wants to know about.
Brilliant, thanks very much. And you know, come back and share as you've got more data, particularly as that feedback grows as well. So just drop me a line. Fabulous, thank you. Right, I'm going to throw over to Becky and Tracie from Somerset Activity and Sports Partnership, and you can tell everybody what that is and what you've been up to.
Nick, I'll try and share my screen, see how we get on here.
Yeah, I can just see yep, I can see that this end. Brilliant.
Try and get you in presenter mode. I can't see you, but can you see that? SASP, who are we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So Tracie, if you could let me know if anyone's got their hands up or questions as we go along, because I can only see the slide really on my screen. But so my name's Becky Bostock. I'm the Senior Project Officer for Health at SASP. And SASP stands for Somerset Activity Sports Partnership. And we're one of 43 active partnerships across England. So if you don't know who your active partner is, go and find out. There's one in every county. I think in the Southwest, we've got Active Cornwall, Active Devon. Yeah, and we're Somerset Activity Sports Partnership. And our mission is to increase the health and happiness of residents across Somerset. And I'm going to be co-hosting with my colleague Tracie Philpott, who's on the call today. I'm going to be mainly talking about her role, really. And Tracie and I both sit in the active ageing team here at SASP. And I want to talk to you about Tracie's role. It's quite a new role, and how it came about, really. Yeah, so I'm going to take you back to 2022, because that's where this project kind of started. And in the beginning, we have Helen. You can see her in the bottom left there. Actually, I'll tell you where we are. We're in Somerset in North Sedgemoor. So hopefully you can see a map there. Give me a yes if you can, Tracie.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
thanks.
yes, we can.
Those of you that don't know North Sedgemoor, is quite rural and quite coastal. So a lot of care homes, especially on the coast, kind of like Burnham-on-Sea area. And Helen Rostron there, she's an OT employed through Somerset Foundation Trust, working for North Sedgemoor PCN. She had an idea, and that's the light bulb moment on her head there. She had an idea that she could utilise third-year occupational therapy students to help get care home residents moving more. And she wanted to create a kind of games-based competition between care homes to get those residents moving more. So she approached UWE, which is her local university in Bristol, UWE, and she was offered 2 students to come and help with the pilot. Quite a non-traditional placements for OTs, but they did really enjoy it. So you can see the students down there in the bottom left, Gemma and Millie. Helen recognised that the NHS is a kind of finite resource, and so she reached out to SASP, that's where we come in, and she said, I've got some students, I need some money, and we were managing the Together Fund at the time from Sport England, which is now called the Movement Fund, I believe. So she was really successful in applying, so she got the funding, she had the students, she had an idea. The Moving and Improving Games launched, and it was October 2022 to Jan 2023, inspired by Recondition the Nation. And the money allowed the purchase of some new equipment. So they bought an OMI projector, great fun to use if you've never used one before, some curling sets, target games, bean bags, bands. lots of fun. You can see some pictures of the pilots, the games here. Really like the picture in the middle at the top. And some care home staff said, oh, this lady won't want to join in the games. Turned out she used to play badminton nationally. So she was really up for it. Got some fly swatters and some balloons. And the care home staff were really interested to see how the OT students were moving and handling the patients. And some of them said, oh, I didn't know, you know, Mrs. Smith would be able to do that. So it was really nice to see the residents come out of their room and join in with group activities. Project was a massive success, really great outcomes. Staff skills, knowledge and confidence were all increased. Lots of the staff did some flexercise training so they could continue to deliver the exercise. There was a peer support network forum set up as well. And a staggering 95% of residents who don't usually join in group activities said they participate in the games again. But really it's the legacy that we want to talk about. And I think it's really interesting that the PCN have funded their active partner funded SASP to employ someone to continue this. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Tracie now, because she is the lasting legacy of this project, really. So over to you, Tracie.
Thank you. Gosh, that's quite the introduction. I've never been a legacy before. Yes, as Becky mentioned, my name is Tracie Philpott. So I joined SASP as the health and wellbeing coach for care homes in North Sedgemoor in March. This role was created with funding from the PCN and facilitated by SASP as a result of the games you've just heard about, to try and build on that work that they started around preventing deconditioning and really trying to embed that culture of movement in care homes. I'm an occupational therapist by background, very handily, but I've also been a carer and an activity coordinator in care homes in the past. So alongside this role, I also work for Age UK Somerset, delivering falls prevention exercise classes in the community. And I just so happen to live in North Sedgemoor as well. So when I saw the job advertised, it felt like the perfect fit for me. So in terms of the first steps, which is the next slide. Cool. The first thing I did, and I'm still doing, as it's still pretty new, was to start gathering some information about the homes in the area. I started with 4 homes identified by Helen, the OT, as useful starting points. One home, for example, was identified as having a high level of falls. One has no activity coordinator. One has a very new activity coordinator, and the 4th is a really large home with 5 activity coordinators. So a real mixed bag, but really useful as a starting point to get a picture of what the need is. I made contact with the 4 homes and have met staff, including activity coordinators, to introduce myself and find out what's happening in terms of physical activity and, crucially, how confident they feel and staff feel around it. It's also really useful to find out what equipment and facilities each care home has in terms of indoor and outdoor space, some of the routines and rhythms of the home. For example, one has an activity programme with something every day, prepared a month in advance, and another is a bit more ad hoc with a week-by-week approach. I've also started to build relationships with members of the wider PCN team so we can share information, and in the future I hope that they'll be able to refer individuals to me as well. And over time I plan to visit more homes and gradually build up this information and get a bigger picture of the needs of homes, residents and staff. Which leads us neatly on to thinking about some of the things highlighted already in these early stages, and where I can start developing the role. So the first thing was equipment loan. Becky mentioned some of the equipment that we're very lucky to have, including the OMI projector. You can see a picture of it on the slide here. Like she said, if you don't know what one is, please Google it and have a look, because it's an amazing piece of kit. We also have the indoor curling sets, pedals and iPads and bits like that. So I'm able to loan them out to homes. I don't think I'm allowed to loan them the OMI. I'm like its bodyguard. It's quite an expensive piece of kit, so I have to take it with me everywhere I go. And I'll be working on a system to keep track of items that we loan out and enable people to book them out in advance. So one home has already booked out the pedals and the iPads for July to coincide with the Tour de France. They're going to run a Tour de Sedgemoor event with their residents where they can virtually pedal around Sedgemoor together. So that's really exciting. Exercise groups, which was great to follow on from the previous presenters, exercising in a group, because yeah, it's brilliant to exercise with other people. So I've already run some group sessions in 2 of the homes to just give ideas and confidence to staff. And I hope to run one-to-one sort of targeted exercise sessions when individuals are identified as having specific needs, such as strength and balance exercises, if they're at particular risk of falls. And I'm thinking along the lines of enabling staff, visitors and residents themselves to carry on exercising when I'm not there. Longer term leads me on to the next item, which is having some booklets or pick and mix sheets. I can make folders tailored up to individuals so they can keep it in their rooms and hopefully help them, staff and visitors, feel confident and in the know about what exercises they can do and how. A lot of staff report that they don't feel confident. They don't want to do the wrong thing. They don't want to hurt someone or cause them any damage. So just to give people confidence and almost permission with what they're doing. We're very fortunate as well to have a sloppy slipper campaign where we're offering to replace free of charge old and broken non-supportive slippers with new, well-fitting, comfortable ones to reduce risks of falls. Alongside that, we provide access to SAS resources, including falls prevention and exercise videos, and an online pre-recorded 30-minute webinar for staff covering the importance and benefits of physical activity, types of activities, practical tips, and positive conversation skills. And that's been very well received. It's like Christmas, taking the slippers around. Very happy residents and staff. Also just, providing training opportunities for staff, linking them up with things that are available, providing bite-sized training, ideas, information. The Moving and Improving Games awarded individuals activity champion badges, and I'm thinking of ways to keep that kind of thing going. Networking for activity coordinators can be quite a lonely job. You feel like you're a fish swimming in the opposite direction to everybody else sometimes. So the ones I've spoken with so far really keen to collaborate and for us to find ways of linking them up with one another. We've had the idea of buddying up activity coordinators as well in 2s or 3s with their nearest home. You've heard about the competition, the Moving and Improving Games between homes and residents. It's still talked about in some homes now, this 18 months later. Some of the residents were up, dressed at 7 o'clock in the morning, ready to go. They love that idea of competition. And I'd really like to build on that, but also to introduce this idea of collaboration as well, things we can do together. So we're working towards things together. For example, I'm planning a Wimbledon week event in homes that they can sign up for, so everyone is doing the same thing at the same time. We're going to have balloon tennis and strawberries, and I'm hoping the local tennis club are going to host an event for residents to come together at as well. I'm working on introducing and supporting the use of the PAL. PAL stands for the Pool Activity Level. You may or may not have heard of this. It's an amazing tool developed by Jackie Poole, who is an occupational therapist. And very quickly, I don't have time to fully go into it here, but it helps work out where a person may be on their dementia journey and how you can adapt activities, tasks, and communication to get the best out of someone. And it's really invaluable in helping homes, staff, and even families to really connect with people with dementia. And we're really looking for a way to get that rolled out more fully in the homes. Linking with the community, I'm trying to find opportunities to bring the outside world in, but also support residents to engage in the community around them. And I'm looking at lots of different ways to do that. Events and special focus weeks, just a way to focus on specific issues, have a common purpose, such as Falls Awareness Week, Care Home Open Week, things like that. It seems to be a week for everything these days. Days for everything, National Jam Day and things like that. Anything I can piggyback on, I will. And finally, we're thinking about outcome measures. One of the things we're in the process of working out is how we'll measure the impact of all of this in a specific way. What will the key outcomes be? How can we gather and capture that data? So watch this space. Hopefully we'll be back in the future with some exciting graphs and data to share with you about how all of this has had an impact and developed, as it's still really early days. So thank you for having us. Are there any questions?
Brilliant, Trace. Both you, Becky and Tracie. That's just brilliant. I mean, I posted the link to the original podcast we did with the students, which was the fascinating piece of work that they are involved in. And I thought that was really innovative. And I think this links particularly with, just shows what can be done in care homes. And I think there's a few on the call that I know of who are considering how do we actively engage with care homes. And a learning point for me, I didn't realise there was active partnerships in every county. That's something for us all to look out for, I guess, in terms of wherever we are, whether we're in the community care homes or even in the acute. There's an opportunity for us to connect with organisations like yourselves, irrespective of our roles. Any question that I did see VJ has put a question in the chat. I don't know if you want to pick that up, VJ, and then anybody else want to put their hands up?
Yeah, I looked into the OMI and it's almost cost me $8,500. How did you guys manage to get that funding started? Because I'm struggling to find that much amount of money in our services.
So the funding for Tracie's role was from the PCN directly, and the funding for the Sloppy Slipper campaign was from Somerset ICB.
In terms of the OMI, Becky, where did
sorry,
the funding
OMI.
for that come from? That's right.
It's the interactive project. That's what I meant, because I know there is a huge potential to use in multiple areas. I do manage a community inpatient unit. I had a community rehab services, and I had a little therapy input from the urgent community services in Exmouth, Burtley area. And I find that this would be a great piece of equipment to use. And we also see patients across in the care homes as well. But when I try to get the resources, it's quite a costly piece of equipment. And also there is another provider available. They do yearly subscription. That's not going to be a great model. And I just want to know how you guys managed to get that funding secured, or how did you get that?
So the Moving and Improving Games, Helen applied via SASP through the Together Fund, and that's managed by Sport England, but the Together Fund has changed now. It's called the Movement Fund. So I would urge you to look at the Movement Fund. Also in Somerset, the libraries have these projectors to loan out. And I know, for example, that Musgrove, our local hospital, has one in their library on site. So it might be worth looking at your local libraries to see if they do any equipment loan, but I don't know what it's like in other counties.
Well, that's interesting to know. I'm only the neighbouring county. I'm in the Devon, so I'll have a look. Thanks for your help.
Cheers.
Thanks, Nick.
Any other questions for? So Tracie's popped her email in the chat if anybody's got any direct questions. Anything from anybody else?
Yeah, very happy to, if anyone wants to email me, very happy to hear from you, especially if you're developing a similar thing. So I'm just not making it up as I go along, no.
Nothing wrong with that, Tracie. There is nothing wrong with making it up as you go along.
The OMI is like absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen one or used one, they are incredible pieces of kit.
I've just dropped the link in the chat for the projector, Tracie.
Thank you. I think it depends which one you get as well, how expensive it is. We've got like a portable one, so I think they're a little bit more than the fixed ones.
BJ, do you want to come back in?
Just for our knowledge, we can even request an online demo for that projector. You don't need to actually bring them in. Like, it's really a very valuable piece of technology.
Thanks. And Gail?
Hello, it was just to say we've used a system from Social Ability called the Happiness Programme. I'm not familiar with Omni, but it sounds similar. In VG, we went via our charitable funds it's a rentable system rather than a purchasable. And we went to charitable funds to trial it for 6 months. And it's working really well. It's a portable, it looks like a drip stand with a camera on, really. So it sounds as if it's a similar type of thing. It's great for interaction with dementia patients, and it projects all sorts, plays music and stuff. So if you get a chance, I'll try and put the link in to the
link in with your active partnerships as well, guys, because for example, SASP loan out pedals, sets of pedals, so patients can have a tablet and go on a virtual ride in the ward or at home, and then they get the opportunity to purchase the pedals for £20. So have a look and see what your active partnerships are offering. But I just really quickly want to share Tracie's story, because she said something so heartwarming to me the other day. One chap in one of the care homes who sat in the corner and didn't interact. And then you put the projector on, didn't you, Tracie? And for the first time, he said something verbally that linked with what he was doing physically. He said, "Ah, amazing." And then he was there for 40 minutes engaging with the games. So just really enjoyed that.
Amazing.
Yeah, great example. And Cam, South Warwickshire, has put in that they're also using the happiness program as well. So there's various, I guess, it's how we search and find and share these ideas. It's more about the interaction, I guess, from what you just said as well, Becky. It is about the interaction rather than the product, and it's about how whatever the product is, whatever version of the product, it's about the interaction that you can get people connected with a piece of something that interests them, both stimulates them both cognitively and physically as well. So that's always very positive. Thank you for that, guys. We are just at time. What I will do, I will circulate the little bit of an update that I was going to do on Fab Stuff. Some of you will already be aware of Fab Stuff. Some of you may even be Fab ambassadors on the call. It's been running for quite some time, but I'll circulate that around the group to let you know that this resource now is available to us, and we've got a home that we can upload all our good stuff to and go and search for. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We are back next month. Our new monthly start. It's going to be set now, third week of every month on a Thursday. Consistent now. We'll do that for 6 months. We'll see how we get on, and then we'll review it at the end of that. But I think we've got a full agenda already for June, so that's great. Thanks again. Excellent. Loved all those stories. Have a good rest of the week. Rest of the day. And those who've got a bank holiday, enjoy the bank holiday. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Nick.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.